In 1930, Congress passed the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act and raised prices on over 20,000 imported goods overnight. Within 18 months, American households had completely restructured what they ate. The meals they invented to survive that decade are almost identical to what is working right now in 2026. Number 17 costs less than $2 and uses nothing that crosses a border. Number 6 was invented during the stagflation of the 1970s by families who refused to let inflation win. And number 1 has been made in American kitchens during every economic disruption since 1893. Most people under 40 have never heard of it. Today, with tariffs driving up the cost of imported olive oil, canned tomatoes, cheese, and seafood, millions of families are discovering what their great-grandparents already knew. The American pantry can feed you without a single item from overseas. These 20 meals require nothing imported, nothing fancy, and nothing that breaks when the next cargo ship gets stuck in the wrong canal. Let us count down the 20 forgotten Tariff-Era pantry meals that stretch every dollar in 2026. Number 20. Cornmeal mush. When wheat prices spike, corn stays steady. That has been true since the 1800s, and it is true right now. American corn, grown in American soil, processed in American mills, immune to whatever is happening at the ports. Cornmeal mush is nothing but cornmeal, water, and salt, cooked until it thickens into a dense golden porridge. Served hot with molasses or butter, it was breakfast across the rural South and Midwest for 100 years. A 2-pound bag of American cornmeal costs $2.50. That bag makes 15 servings. Leftover mush gets sliced and fried until crisp. That is tomorrow's breakfast already made. Nothing wasted, nothing imported, nothing complicated. Number 19. Egg drop soup. The eggs are American. The broth can be made from American chicken bones. The whole thing takes 60 seconds once the broth is hot. Bring the broth to a rolling boil. Beat 2 eggs in a cup. Pour them in a thin stream while stirring slowly. The eggs set instantly into silky ribbons floating through the broth like clouds. Salt, pepper, done. This was the meal grandmothers made when someone was sick, when the budget was broken, when there was no energy left for anything else. A carton of broth and 4 eggs. 2 bowls of real food for under $2. No sriracha from Thailand, no rice noodles from Vietnam. Just American ingredients doing American work. Number 18. Potato and onion skillet. 2 potatoes, 1 onion, butter or bacon grease, salt. That is the whole recipe. Slice the potatoes thin. Dice the onion. Cook everything low and slow in a cast iron skillet until the potatoes crisp at the edges and the onions turn sweet and golden. This was Tuesday night across Appalachia in the 1930s. It was Tuesday night during the stagflation of the 1970s. It is Tuesday night right now in kitchens where people have stopped pretending the grocery bill is not a problem. American potatoes cost $3 for a 5-pound bag. The bacon grease is already saved in a jar on your counter. This is not a side dish. This is dinner. Number 17. Bean and bacon soup. A bag of dried navy beans costs $1.89. A package of bacon ends runs about $3. Combined, they make a pot of soup that feeds a family for 3 days. Soak the beans overnight. Render the diced bacon in a heavy pot until the fat runs clear. Add the beans, an onion, and enough water to cover everything by 2 inches. Simmer for 3 hours. The beans break down and thicken the broth. The bacon fat makes everything rich. No canned tomatoes from Italy. No olive oil from Spain. Nothing but American beans and American pork doing exactly what they have done since before the first tariff was ever written. Senate bean soup has been served in the United States Capitol every single day since 1903. If it is good enough for Congress, it is good enough for your kitchen. Number 16. Chicken thigh and rice pot. Chicken thighs were the forgotten cut for decades. Americans convinced themselves white meat was better and left dark meat on the discount rack. That discount is still there. Bone-in chicken thighs run about $2 a pound. A cup of American rice, costs 40 cents. Brown the thighs, add rice, broth, and a diced onion. Cover and simmer for 30 minutes. The rice absorbs every drop of chicken-flavored liquid. The thighs fall apart at the touch of a fork. The fat keeps everything moist and rich in a way lean cuts never can. For a family stretching a grocery budget, that richness is the difference between pushing food around a plate and cleaning it. Number 15, cabbage and sausage pot. 1 head of cabbage, 2 smoked sausage links, water. That is the entire shopping list. Quarter the cabbage, slice the sausage into thick coins. Simmer for 45 minutes until the cabbage turns silky and the sausage perfumes the broth with smoke and garlic. A head of cabbage costs $1.50. The sausage runs $4. The whole pot feeds 4 people for under $6. For someone with arthritis, there is almost no knife work. You can tear the cabbage with your hands. You can snap the sausage links. Polish grandmothers made this. German grandmothers made this. Appalachian grandmothers made this. The recipe crossed every ethnic line because hard times do not care where your people came from. Number 14, split pea soup. The dried split peas come from Montana and Idaho. The ham bone comes from whatever ham you ate last Sunday. Nothing in this pot traveled more than 1,000 miles to reach you. A pound of split peas costs $1.79. The ham bone is free, already paid for with last week's dinner. Simmer them together for 2 hours, and the peas dissolve into a thick, earthy porridge that warms you from the sternum outward. The ham bone releases collagen as it cooks, giving the soup a body that no amount of seasoning can replicate. This soup fed American families through the Depression, through the war, through every recession since. It will feed them through this too. First pattern break. Here is where things get honest. The tariffs that took effect in 2026 did not just raise prices, they revealed how dependent the American grocery cart had become on imports. The olive oil came from Spain. The canned tomatoes came from Italy. The shrimp came from Vietnam. The garlic came from China. For decades, nobody noticed because it was cheap. Now, everybody noticed because it is not. But here is what the grocery industry will not advertise. Almost everything you actually need to survive is still grown, raised, and processed inside the United States. Corn, wheat, potatoes, onions, cabbage, pork, chicken, beef, eggs, beans, rice, butter, milk. The American pantry never left. We just stopped looking at it. The meals on this list are not about deprivation. They're about rediscovering a food system that does not require a cargo ship. Number 13, fried bologna sandwiches. Every working class kitchen in America had a roll of bologna in the refrigerator. It cost nothing and fed a family for days. Fried bologna is not a cold sandwich. It is a proper hot meal. Cut thick slices, make 2 small notches in the edges so the meat does not cup. Inlay them in a hot cast iron skillet, the bologna blisters and browns, filling the kitchen with a smell that brings people running. Served on white bread with yellow mustard, a pound of bologna cost $3.50. A loaf of bread cost $2.50. 6 sandwiches, dinner for under $1 a person. There was no shame in it during the Depression. There is no shame in it now. Number 12, salmon patties. Canned salmon still comes from Alaska. American boats, American canneries, American fish. A tall can of pink salmon costs $4. Drained and mashed with a beaten egg, crushed crackers, diced onion, and a spoonful of mustard, it makes 4 patties that fry up golden and crisp. The outside shatters when you bite through. The inside stays moist and creamy. The calcium from the soft bones is a bonus most people do not know about. Doctors recommend it for bone density. Your grandmother did not know the science. She just knew it was cheap and good and held together in the pan. That was enough. Number 11, hamburger gravy over mashed potatoes. Ground beef browned with diced onion. A spoonful of flour stirred in. milk poured slowly until the whole thing bubbles into thick, savory gravy studded with beef. Poured over a mountain of mashed potatoes. Farmers called it poor man's steak. Mothers called it hamburger gravy. Children called it their favorite. Ground beef costs $5.50 a pound. A 5-pound bag of potatoes costs $3.30. This feeds 6 people for under $8. The gravy soaks into the potatoes, so every bite carries both. Heavy, filling, deeply satisfying. This has no elegant name. It needed none. Second, pattern break. Here is what nobody on social media wants to admit. The budget meals going viral right now are not budget meals. They call for sriracha from Thailand, sesame oil from Japan, Parmesan from Italy, fish sauce from Vietnam. Those are not tariff-proof meals. Those are normal meals pretending to be cheap. The families who survived the 1930s and the 70s did not have access to global ingredients at discount prices. They had what was local, what was American, and what did not require a functioning supply chain to reach their shelves. That is not a limitation. That is resilience. Number 10, pinto beans and cornbread. This is the meal that defined poverty cooking across the American South for 100 years. Dried pinto beans simmered all day with a ham hock until the broth turns thick and brown. Cornbread baked in a cast iron skillet broken into chunks to soak up the bean liquor. A 2-pound bag of pintos cost $3.50. A ham hock cost $2. Cornmeal cost $2.50. This feeds a family for 4 days. There is nothing fancy about it. There is only a full belly and the knowledge that tomorrow you can make it again. Pinto beans were the cheapest source of protein in the American grocery store in 1930. They still are. Number 9, Depression Stew. This is the meal a steel worker in Pittsburgh ate every night for 3 years, when his pension was not enough and his pride would not let him ask for help. His doctor said his blood work was better than most men half his age. Ground beef browned in a pot, a can of tomatoes, a can of corn, 2 diced potatoes, water, salt, pepper. The potatoes thicken the broth. The corn adds sweetness. The tomatoes add acid. This recipe appeared in Depression-era cookbooks with no name, just stew. Mothers penciled it into margins. Grandmothers whispered it to daughters like a secret. It said, no matter how bad things get, you can eat tonight. A single pot costs under $8. A single pot lasts 4 days. Number 8, egg and potato hash. Diced potatoes fried in bacon grease until crispy. Eggs cracked directly into the pan and stirred through until just set. Salt, pepper, done. This was breakfast, lunch, and dinner during the Depression. It is breakfast, lunch, and dinner now in kitchens, where people have stopped pretending inflation is not real. Potatoes, 60 cents. Eggs, 40 cents. Bacon grease, free. Total cost per serving, about $1. No recipe required, no measurement needed. Just potatoes, eggs, and the understanding that this is how people have always gotten through. Third pattern break. Here is what has been lost in the conversation about grocery prices. Your grandmother already knew how to do this. She did not call it tariff-proof cooking. She did not need a content creator to teach her how to feed a family for $5. She just knew when prices went up, you made the beans stretch further. You saved the bacon grease. You bought the whole chicken instead of the boneless breasts. That knowledge did not disappear. It just skipped a generation, maybe 2. These last 7 meals are the ones that matter most. Not because they are fancy, because they are unkillable. They work when the supply chain breaks. They work when the paycheck does not stretch. They work when you are tired and scared and wondering how you are going to make it to the end of the month. They work. Number 7, navy bean soup with ham bone. After Easter or Christmas, when the ham was picked clean, the bone went straight into a pot of soaked navy beans with onion, celery, and the bay leaf. By afternoon, the kitchen smelled like a roadside diner. The broth turns cloudy with dissolved starch. Each bean swells full and yielding. The last scraps of meat fall from the bone and float through the soup in tender shreds. A pound of navy beans costs $1.89. The ham bone was already paid for. This pot feeds a family for a week. Number 6. Lentil soup. American-grown lentils exist. Montana, Washington, and Idaho produce millions of pounds every year. A 1-pound bag costs $2.30 and makes 8 servings. Lentils do not need soaking. They cook in 30 minutes. They break down into a thick, earthy porridge that stays with you for hours. Add a carrot, an onion, a bay leaf. That is the whole recipe. Seniors who have eaten lentil soup twice a week for decades have blood work that looks 20 years younger. They did not know the science. They just knew it was cheap and filling, and nobody left the table hungry. Number 5. Chicken and dumplings. A whole chicken costs about $7. Simmered for 2 hours with celery and onion, it becomes 3 days of meals. Cook the bird until the meat falls from the bone and the broth turns golden. Drop spoonfuls of biscuit dough directly into the simmering liquid. The dumplings puff up soft and pillowy, absorbing chicken flavor as they cook. This was the meal Southern grandmothers made when someone was sick, when someone was grieving. When nothing else would do, they brought it in covered pots to doorsteps across the neighborhood. It was care-made edible. It still is. Number 4. Tomato gravy over biscuits. Baking grease in a cast iron skillet. A spoonful of flour stirred in until it colors. A can of American tomatoes crushed in by hand. Salt, pepper, a pinch of sugar if the tomatoes run sharp. Poured thick over split homemade biscuits. This was breakfast across the rural South every morning that was not Sunday. The acid cuts through the richness of the lard biscuits beneath. The whole plate costs less than $1. This has all but disappeared. The people who made it every morning are gone, and their children never learned. Now you know. Number 3. Fried potatoes and onions. Cast iron skillet, bacon grease, sliced potatoes, sliced onion, low heat. 45 minutes. The potatoes cook slowly, crisping at the edges, turning golden, absorbing the flavor of the fat. The onions caramelize into sweet, soft ribbons. A 5-pound bag of potatoes cost $3.30. The bacon grease was free. In the 1950s, for millions of families, this was supper, not a side dish. The meal, children ate seconds. Fathers asked for thirds. This is not a meal of defeat. This is one of the best things many families ate all week. Number 2, collard greens and pot liquor. A large bunch of collard greens dropped into a pot with salt pork and just enough water to cover. Cooked low and slow for 2 hours until the greens wilt and the liquid at the bottom turns dark and rich. That liquid, the pot liquor, is not a byproduct. It is the point. Cornbread gets baked specifically to crumble into it. Nutritionists know now that collard greens cooked this way retain remarkable amounts of calcium, iron, and folate. Poor Southern families knew none of that. They just knew it kept them strong. They were right. Number 1, bean soup. At the top of this list is the same meal that topped the list of Depression-era cooking. The same meal that topped the list of 1950s poverty dinners. The same meal that has fed more American families through more hard times than any other food in the history of this country. Bean soup. Dried beans simmered in water with an onion, a bay leaf, and whatever scrap of cured pork is available. Cooked until the beans break down and the water thickens into something that sustains life. A pound of dried beans costs $1.89. It feeds a family of 4 for 2 days. It requires no olive oil from Spain, no tomatoes from Italy, no spices from India. It requires nothing but time, a pot, and the knowledge that this is enough. This is the meal that does not care about tariffs. It does not care about supply chains. It does not care which cargo ships are stuck or which trade deals are falling apart. It just works. It has always worked. And in 2026, when the grocery bill makes you feel like you are failing, a pot of bean soup is proof that you are not. Here is the challenge. Make one of these this week. Not because you have to. Make it because somewhere in your family history, someone did have to. And they made it work. The pinto beans, the hamburger gravy, the fried potatoes. Pick one. Then come back and tell me if it was as bad as you expected. Because I made the bean soup last Tuesday when I saw what chicken breasts cost, and I have not bought imported olive oil since February. Drop the one you were going to try in the comments. I want to know if the tomato gravy gets more love than the split pea soup. Because these are not just budget meals. They are the American pantry remembering what it was built for.